Have you ever met somebody and looked back on it and realized you had no idea how instrumental this person would be in your life?
And the Shorty Award for Best Web Show goes to SourceFed.
I am very happy to have been in the same room with Bill Nye.
I remember the first time I met Steve Zaragoza. It was 2013. We were at a barbecue. This is before I was ever on anything. We made eye contact for the first time. He walked up to me and said, "Do black people read Mad Magazine?" Now, for those of you who don't know, magazines are these things people used to read at the time. And even for me, magazines were old. And I've actually only ever known one person who had Mad Magazine, which was my god brother, who is in fact black. So I said, yes, it's all been history from there.
Hey guys, welcome back to SourceFed. I am George Tsoukalos.
I'm Pickard.
I think that's his name. Ancient Aliens guy.
That would be real bad.
Now on to something that isn't news because we're dressed in meme outfits and it would be ridiculous if we read real news.
To me, Steve Zaragoza is like the Jiraiya to my Naruto. What a lot of people don't realize that a lot of my techniques are just his techniques crafted in a different way.
So no.
Okay, you don't have a gambling problem, do you?
We're not going to talk about that live there's a whole lot of counseling for that.
My mom has one. My mom has a gambling problem, but I still love her.
We could probably be friends then.
Yeah, she likes slot machines. She likes blackjack.
I saw this comment on one of my videos that said something along the lines of Steve Zaragoza helped me evolve, and it's true, and I think a lot of people don't really know. I think the way that I do humor and jokes is just so aesthetically different that it's hard to tell where I learned it from. I've had a lot of mentors in my life, but the one who has taught me the most comedically is Steve Zaragoza. And to be honest with you, I feel as if Steve Zaragoza saved my life, and I will get to that. It's gonna get dark. I also got a comment on a TikTok I posted with Steve where someone asked me, is he really that nice? And I had to explain to them something that people don't know about Steve is that Steve is so nice to a point that it's annoying. Steve's mom is a really good woman and taught Steve as a kid to be nice to absolutely everybody. And I mean everybody. There's been so many times I've been like, Steve, we're not gonna talk to this person. We're gonna walk right past them. We're gonna act like we don't know that person. And Steve can't do it. He can't be mean to folks.
Guys, in this video, we like to do... Put the guy's away. In this video, we're gonna open up some loot crates. I can't find my October loot crate. This knife for you. You don't ever leave a blade open on the table. Alright.
Obviously, I'm doing this video because I did that video about Alana, and then I had to do that video about Raina, and then people asked me to do a video about Steve, so here we are.
The big game, a time for partying and fun with friends. But like everything in life, it ends. But it doesn't have to. Now there's Strensum's No Wait Game Day 365 p.m. Just take one pill after eating 4 days of food and get ready to sleep for an entire year, just in time for the next big game. After just one pill, you may start to feel very dizzy and sick. That's your body telling you it's time to stop struggling and get comfortable. Have a friend or loved one insert.
When I got cast to be on SourceFed in 2014, literally a decade ago, I was the youngest person to ever be on the show ever, and by like a decade and some change. The original hosts were a little standoffish towards me, as you would be if the company you worked for hired 3 younger people to work for you out of nowhere. But Steve was never like that. Steve is the type of person who is always going to be nice to people. He can't help it.
Hey, watch your language, sir. You know these two? Just look at the back of their heads, you'll know them. Oh, good.
When you work hard, you get money. Praise Logic.
Praise Logic.
If I spend $1, I have $1 less. Praise Logic.
Praise Logic. Not again.
One day, me and Steve were, by coincidence, both, this is before we were really friends, we just casually knew each other. We were both at the mall and in H&M, and we both turned around and saw each other and was like, it's you from work. And ever since then, we just hung out so much in his Fiat and done wild videos.
What do you have? Do you have any words of encouragement?
I'd like to say,
All right, here we are, folks. We're in the chip aisle. We're getting a real good glimpse here. And here we go. I found them. This is it. Hey, ma'am, are you Katie Wayne? So I'll be ginger. You're going to get cappuccino. And we're going to get the bacon mac and cheese.
And something that I think a lot of people have known Steve and I to collaborate on are those live streams. Those live streams were during the times where Steve and I were at our worst, our saddest. And to tell you the truth, during one of these live streams or right before was when I set the date to when I would end it all. I believe the date was 2 years in the future or a year and a half in the future. So the date for it was like November 6th, 2016. It was all supposed to end that day. Or November 7th. And as you may know, that was actually the day of the election. What ended up happening is when the day came, I realized that I loved my life so much. I realized I wanted to be alive more than ever before. So that day that me and Steve hung out at the mall, Steve was doing all the wildest stuff. Like he would show me like, you can go into the mall and just yell for no reason for 1 second. Yep. And I remember Steve told me, people forget. And I was at that moment, I realized that I was so uptight about myself. I took myself so seriously. Sometimes you have to realize that not everything you do is that important. And people aren't just judging you in the mall. They're actually so much more focused on themselves than this guy. Oh, I don't like this guy, the way he looks, his outfit. Like, no one's thinking about you. Everyone's thinking about themselves. Super valuable lesson. So after a while, it became very clear that Steve and I have very good comedic chemistry. Can we talk about two dudes in a bad mood?
Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood. Dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood.
Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood.
Why? I don't know. I guess, sometimes Steve and I would be like at the office on the weekend and we would come up with really dumb songs, like hilarious songs. And I think one of them was Two Dudes in a Bad Mood.
Two dudes in a bad mood.
Get out the way, Steve.
Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood.
We also came up with this really dumb bit, Practice for the Circus, where we pretend like we're two people who want to be in the circus, but it's not going too well. So between fake dumb songs and Practice from the Circus is Two Dudes in a Bad Mood.
Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood. Two dudes in a bad mood.
Y'all really paid to see that. Wow. And like I was saying, Steve and I were there for each other during some of our darkest times. Like Steve was going through his divorce and I was 20. And something we used to do was make these live streams. So I don't know how to explain it simply, but Steve saved my life by teaching me how unimportant the mundaneness of life is. When Steve and I talk about it today, the depression, I can't say I'm depressed anymore. I'd say I get boredom. I translate depression into boredom now. Something that Steve and I were talking about in person recently when I was at his house is like how he and I, from the moment we wake up to the moment that we go to sleep, he and I will both be making jokes with each other. And I didn't notice it until he pointed it out. That we have no limit. Actually, I was talking to this girl who used to FaceTime me in the morning, and she would always be like, how do you wake up in the morning already making jokes? Steve and I cannot turn off the sense of humor. And I think that connection saved my life. Looking back at these clips, it's crazy how much of my sense of humor was based on my sadness, how much my personality, you could just see it on my face, a darkness that I just don't have anymore. And finding people like Steve, finding people like John, Jessica, Raina, made me realize that my life is worth it. If I had had my way, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have been gone years ago. I never would have been able to see the person that I am today. I wanted that. I didn't know. Steve and I getting together and being creative with each other through the depression was what I needed to realize that life was worth living. Like, yes, times will be dark. Times you will feel like, I don't know what I'm doing with myself. And those times were so specifically important because, as you can see, I was very successful at this time. I was 20, 21 years old, had more money than I had in the past. I was getting recognized on the street. I was getting more social media likes and interactions than anybody I knew. And yet I was still unhappy. I still hated myself. And you can tell looking at these videos. Very different to now where I love myself. Don't nobody love me as much as me, I'm gonna be honest with you. So if you're ever struggling with depression, and it wasn't Steve that taught me this, it was another friend of mine, Sydney, who told me that I was beautiful, and in 2015, and I was like, really? And I had realized that no one had ever said that to me before. All men need is one compliment. And I realized that, I can improve. I can become better. I am more than just the sum of my parts. So in life, I ask you to look out for people who, through the dark times, you can be there with each other. You can be creative together. That to me is what saved my life. And also what's crazy about looking back at these clips is that I know that that's the person that Steve knew. I know that so many people are like, what happened to that version of Will? I get comments and messages from people all the time. I miss the old Will. I miss the depressed Will. I don't. Depressed Will always had a time limit on him. Depressed, sad William was always going to be gone at some point. I look at my younger self as like my son. I have so much that I could teach him. And now I just feel like such a better and stronger person. And I could not be here without the people who held me up during those times. Didn't mean to trauma dump on y'all. Check out this other video I did about something really important. In 2020, they were like, Will always starts this and then doesn't do that. Because, I'm young and figuring
Like
myself
projects and
out.
stuff? Yeah.
Like as a person should. You should not be forced into a niche at 22 years old. Like,
Dude, that's the worst.
and that's what the internet is now. I'm one of the few people that got to be like, oh, you know what? I want to be a rapper now. You know what? I want to run for mayor now. And then I learned who I am now. So after I read that thread of people just tearing me apart, I was like, I need to show people that I am consistency.
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't know. You were like, when I saw you a week ago, you were like, whatever brand this is, I can't wait till this is over.
Yeah, I want the next one already.
I'm sorry. William Haynes Prime is here to stay.
This is it.
This is it.